like to welcome the audience to the June 15th, 2021 Parish Planning and Zoning Board meeting. Would you all please stand while Mr. LaSalle Williams says the invocation and pledge of allegiance?
Dear Lord, we thank you for allowing us another blessed day. Thank you for life, for health, and strength. We ask that you let the Holy Spirit come in our meeting tonight, and we thank you, Lord, for allowing us to be back in our original home, our meeting place. We thank you for all your blessings, your grace, and your mercy. We pray for those who suffer throughout the land. We ask a special blessing upon this board and also this staff. And we pray for those who come tonight seeking our help, that the Holy Spirit guide and lead us, that we might do that which is pleasing in our sight. This we offer our prayer in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Let us turn to the corner to the right over here, the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Christie, would you please call the roll?
Chair Kirk Smith,
Here.
Vice Chair Julia Dickerson,
Here.
Miss Latricia Cobb, Mr. Keith Dubrock,
Here.
Miss Sharon Galicia,
Here.
Miss Janelle Hyatt,
Here.
Mr. Art Little,
Here.
Mr. Jake Porche,
Here.
Mr. Carl Vincent,
Here.
Mr. LaSalle Williams,
Here.
and Miss Deanne Whining.
Here.
Thank you, Christie. This is an 11-member board. It will take the majority of those members present to grant or deny any request heard tonight. The chair will refrain from voting unless that vote might affect the outcome. The meeting will be conducted with me reading the requests from the agenda. The planning staff will give a presentation and report their recommendations. If the applicant would like to add to the staff's presentation, or if someone from the audience has comments, please come to the microphone and state your name, address, and nature of your request. All persons wishing to speak other than the applicants need to fill out a blue request to appear form located in the back of this room. The form must be given to a staff member prior to the reading of the agenda item. As required by this board's bylaws, in all cases, the proponents will be limited to 10 minutes. Opponents will be granted 10 minutes as well, with each speaker allowed no more than 3 minutes. I recommend that a spokesperson be selected if there's a large group wanting to speak on the same agenda item. If 4 or more speaker request forms are submitted, the time allowed for the individual speakers will be limited based upon the number of forms submitted. The chair has the right to limit speakers who present redundant information or personal attacks. In unique situations, the chair may extend, or the board may vote to extend, the time allotted for speakers. After discussion, the board will vote on each request. I will announce a decision of the board after the vote. The exception and variances are final tonight. The road abandonment and rezoning cases will go before the police jury for final action on June 17, 2020 at 5:30 p.m. This meeting is being filmed by the Calcasieu Parish Government Channel and can be viewed on Wednesday and Thursday following the meeting. For additional run dates, check the website at www.cppj at calcasiewparish.gov. Channel 5 in Lake Charles, Sulphur, Moss Bluff, Westlake, Vinton, DeQuincy, and Gillis. Channel 99 in Carlos and Grand Lake. Please either turn off or silence all electronic devices. Take appropriate action to approve the minutes of the May 25th, 2021 Planning and Zoning meeting. I will entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Dickerson, second by Ms. Hyatt. All those in favor state aye.
Aye.
Minutes are approved. Item 6, take appropriate action on AB-0521-0023, a request by the Calcasieu Parish Police Jury to abandon and revoke the original road and right-of-way dedication of North Robinson Cutoff Road, approximately 778.8 feet at 1234 Big Woods Starks Road in Ward 5. I will entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Dickerson, second by Ms. Hyatt. Ms. Wallace.
This right-of-way is located in Big Woods. The right-of-way was dedicated to and accepted by the police jury in 1971. The right-of-way serves only one property owner who will still access the property via frontage along Big Woods Starks Road. The right-of-way does not serve the general public. Because minimal impacts are to be expected, the staff recommends that this request be granted.
Thank you, Ms. Wallace. There are no blue cards on this item. Are there any questions by the board? Mr. Little?
Question for the staff. This 800-foot of road, is there any reason that the drainage board or the parish needs to have access back in here for any drainage laterals or anything that may be in that area?
I don't believe so.
It was actually our engineering department that requested it be abandoned.
Any other questions by the board members? There being none, all those in favor state aye.
Aye.
All opposed? There being none, the motion passes. I'd like to announce that VAR-0521-0163, a request by Larry Louvier et al. For a variance to allow dwelling with less than required square footage at 1494 Coral Lines Road in Ward 4 has been withdrawn. Also, item 11, I'd like to announce that EX-0421-0110, a request by Sheila LeBlanc for an exception to allow residential development, manufactured home at 6933 Starboard Drive in Ward 3 has been withdrawn. Item 8, take appropriate action on VAR-0521-0164, a request by Stephen Butler for a variance to allow dwelling with less than required square footage, required 43,560 square feet, requesting 24,350 square feet at 584 Butler Lane in Ward 6. I will entertain a motion for approval with conditions.
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Galicia, second by Ms. Dickerson. Ms. Wallace?
This property is located between DeQuincy and Sulphur and is zoned agricultural. The applicant owns over 15 acres and would like to cut a half-acre tract out of the land. The half-acre tract would be sold to a buyer who has indicated she is unable to maintain a tract of land any larger. The staff has not received any opposition to this request. Because the proposed development is not consistent with the character of the area, the staff recommends that the request be denied. Should the board grant the request, the staff recommends the condition that the development adhere to the site plan on file with the division, provided that the director may authorize adjustments to site plans in light of technical or engineering considerations discovered during development. And before you move on, I want to point out that you guys have a revised map. The map that you were provided in your packets on your tablets is the actual entire 15 acres, but this map shows you the parcel that would be cut out if you grant the request.
Thank you, Ms. Wallace. Is the applicant present and has anything to offer? Come to the microphone. State your name and address for the record, sir.
Good evening. My name is Steve Butler, and I live at 584 Butler Lane, DeQuincy, Louisiana. And I'm here to ask for a variance because the woman that is trying to buy it, I'm bad giving away ages, but she's 78. She's a widower. She's only has so much funds. I'm trying to help her out the best way I can. And, sorry, had COVID real bad, so I'm fighting it. But it would be hard for her to maintain that. If she's not married. She doesn't have anybody else to do it. She's going to be 8 miles from DeQuincy and 10 miles from Sulphur, so it's going to be hard to get anybody out there. And I'm trying to sell some of this stuff so I don't have to take care of it because as you see, I'm not in the shape to do it anymore. When I was young, it was, you know, but that's part of my problem. But she also had a survey, and the surveyor didn't tell us at the time that he had to survey at least an acre. So when she asked for a half acre, he surveyed an acre, and he charged her $1,300. Well, he started out telling her 400, and it ended up more than that. I know it's none of y'all's thing, but it would be another survey if it's not granted. So she'd have to pay another $1,300, maybe $1,500 out of her pocket to resurvey the whole thing again, and we'd have to go through the whole shebang. So that's why we asked for a variance to this property. That's it. Thank you.
Any questions for Mr. Butler by the board?
I got a
Oh,
question.
there's a home too. It's not a manufactured home. She's moving a house.
Thank you, sir. Coach?
In reference to Mr. Butler, this may be for staff. Have it surveyed again like, I guess like you're supposed to. That still wouldn't have any bearing on the request as far as being, the character of the neighborhood, would it?
Well, the minimum lot size is a full acre. So the reason she would have to have it surveyed again is to survey out a full acre rather than the half acre that was surveyed out. So,
Possibly she can, her request can be granted.
but if she would survey it out with the full acre, she wouldn't need to come before you guys.
Yeah, she could get a permit.
I have a question. If she had to go to a full acre, would it be lengthways or sideways?
Come to the microphone, sir.
Am I clear enough? I may not be clear on my question.
Well, an acre is an acre.
No, the way it's drawn,
Well, it's my understanding they have public water out there, so you only have to have 100 feet of road frontage.
so it would be deep.
So they
Yes,
could-
it's deep, but it's like, I think 124 foot wide by almost close to 200, something like that deep. Something like, I'm not sure exactly, I'd have to look at the things again.
115.
But there's plenty of road frontage. Actually, I donated the whole road to the parish. It was all my property at one time. And there's another thing I don't quite understand is, I talked to the parish engineer, and she told me that when you sell property, it comes from your property line. And when I talked to someone else, when they're planning, they said you have to come from the center of the road. Well, I'm losing land on that side because all of that was mine before. The guy that lived next to me would not donate not one thing, so I donated the whole strip. That's when Mark McMurray was in here.
I think that has more to do with the way his property was originally subdivided when he purchased it, the entire parent tract. It included that land that's now under the road. So the right-of-way is the top of the road that we use through the right-of-way, but he still owns the dirt underneath the road, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
probably another 20 or 30 foot on the other side, I believe. The guy actually put his fence on the wrong spot, but we didn't fight over it.
Question?
Yeah.
Mr. Boucher?
Mr. Butler may be able to answer this, or maybe the staff, but if you look here on the east side of McLean Road, and I was kind of hopping back and forth with the aerial view, some of these tracks don't, and again, it may be the scale is off, but it doesn't appear that these are half-acre tracks either with some of these houses on the east side of McLean. They don't appear double what on the revised zoning map. So I was just curious if these were previously subdivided, grandfathered, I guess, situations, or is that truly double the size of this proposed lot? Because it doesn't appear scale-wise that it's double. Some of them appear larger,
I'm
but
lost on what you said, I'm sorry.
the lots on the east side of McLean, are they 1 acre lots? Do you know? They don't appear to be.
Well, one of them on the east side of McLean,
Uh-huh.
that was a adjudicated property that I sold someone. It was 1.33 acres or something.
Uh-huh.
And that was some that we got when Jimmy Vickers was here, when I adjudicated property. The others, Herbert Latchley sold those, and I'm not sure how he sold them in 1 acre tracts or whatever. But there may be some in that subdivision, there may be some half acre tracts out there. Because when we first did all this, there was a new ordinance that made, if you had it couldn't be more than 40 acres, or less than 40 acres, or you had to have a road built there, paved road. So a lot of that changed when Paul Beglis, I guess it is, and but
Sandy Trimmy.
Sandy Trimmy, yes, I'm sorry. Yes, Sandy Trimmy. When she was there, and they finally got it to where they could pave the road, and, you know, that's why it's all, you know, it's that way. There's plenty
Yeah,
of road
the corner
frontage.
lot on McLean and, is that
Lachele?
Latchley? It appears to be of similar size to the proposed lot. So that was my question. Am
Well,
I-
the original deal, we bought 40 acres, another friend of mine, Monty Campbell, and we had a friend, they let us divide it into 20 acres. Well, we had another friend that was with us for all our lives, and he was in the Air Force and that kind of stuff, and he got out from Vietnam, and we gave him each 2.5 acres. That made 5 acres. That's why we only have 17.5. You know, it's gonna start out at 20, but we felt so implied to give it to him, so we just, you know, gave it to it at our price, whatever we bought it for. So
That's
we
all
just
my
get a group of friends, and the other part of the road east of, that's all was Herbert Latchley Senior. And Junior, I think, is in on all that. There's still 40 acres out there, but they split it up quite a bit.
Mr. Chair, if I could just jump in very quickly, I did a quick measurement. And just to let you know, that when we do the staff recommendations, we do look at all the aerial photography and we measure. So we looked at this very closely. We don't just issue recommendations to deny easily. It's not something that we just do. So we did measure these lots, but the one on the corner, the quick measurement that I get is that it's 0.8 acres. And it does appear that likely when the road was put in, it was a larger lot before the road went in. But 2 lots down is right at a full acre. So that's pretty much the smallest one on that side of the road.
Okay.
And I do want to point out as well, just to let Mr. Butler know, I'm not sure if this was mentioned when he came in the office, but if you plan to subdivide the property, you need to get with us beforehand so that we can make sure it's all platted right. So.
Any other questions while Mr. Butler's at the podium?
Thank y'all.
Further questions regarding this matter? Christie, roll call vote?
Mr. Little,
Yes.
Mr. Porsche,
Yes.
Ms. Galicia. Yes. Mr. Dubrock,
Yes.
Ms. Whining. Ms. Dickerson. Ms. Hyatt,
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
Yeah.
Mr. Vincent.
Yes.
9 for.
Motion passes. Next item. Take appropriate action on VAR-0521-0165, a request by Nelson Ferguson for a variance to decrease the rear setback required 15 feet, requesting 2 feet at 289 Chili Westland Road in Ward 4. I will entertain a motion for approval with conditions.
Make a motion.
Motion by Mr. Dubrock, second by Ms. Galicia. Ms. Wallace?
This property is located in the Carlos area and encompasses nearly 1 acre of agricultural zone property. The home on the property was moved as part of storm repairs, As part of the move, the house was placed too close to the rear property line and was cemented into the ground. At a later date, it was found that it did not meet the setback requirements. The staff has not received opposition to this request. Because the rear portion of the proposed property lies along a waterway, the staff recommends that the request be granted with the condition that the development adhere to the site plan on file with the division, provided that the director may authorize adjustments to site plans.
Thank you, Ms. Wallace. Is the applicant present and would like to present something to this? If you'd like to present something, sir, you can. Okay. There's no blue cards on this issue. Are there any questions or concerns for the applicant or board, or staff, should I say? There being none, all those in favor state aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Item 10, take appropriate action on VAR-0521-0166, a request by Otis Witt et al. To amend previous case VAR-0421-0161 to remove stipulation 9 that the sale of alcohol be limited to low alcohol content beer at 3901 Broad Street in Ward 3. I will entertain a motion for approval. Motion by Coach Williams, second by Ms. Hyatt. Ms. Wallace.
This property is located near East Lake Charles and encompasses .69 acres of commercially zoned land. The applicant came before you last month and received approval on a variance to allow alcohol consumption within 300 feet of a residence. As part of the approval, the staff recommended a condition that the sales be limited to low alcohol content, which was in the staff recommendation for a previously approved request for this same property. Immediately after the meeting, the applicant approached the staff and explained the board during the original hearing in 2018 voted to remove that condition from their approval. At this time, the applicant would again like to request the condition be removed. The staff has not received opposition to this request, and because minimal impacts are to be expected, the staff recommends the request be granted.
Thank you, Ms. Wallace. Is the applicant present and would like to present anything regarding this matter? No? Okay. There are no blue cards on this item. Any questions or comments by the board? There being none, all those in favor state aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Item 12, take appropriate action on VAR-0421-0162, a request by Sheila LeBlanc for a variance to allow dwelling with less than required lot square footage, required 43,560 square feet, requesting 11,282.04 square feet at 6933 Starboard Drive in Ward 3.
The staff recommends that action on this request be deferred for 30 days.
Wallace, I will entertain a motion to defer action for 30 days.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Vincent, second by Ms. Hyatt. All those in favor state aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes to defer. Item 13, take appropriate action on EX-0521-0111, a request by Kyler Duggar for an exception to allow residential development, manufactured home, at the 7,000 block of Starboard Road in Ward 4. I will entertain a motion for approval with conditions.
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Dickerson, second by Ms. Hyatt. Ms. Wallace.
This property is located in the Carlos area and encompasses 1/3 of an acre of property zoned single-family residential. The property was purchased in 2020 and it's currently vacant. The applicant would like to place a 26-foot by 52-foot manufactured home on the lot. The staff has not received opposition to this request. Because there have been no requests for manufactured homes since the 1980 comprehensive zoning, the staff recommends that the request be denied. Should the board grant the request, the staff recommends the following conditions: that the development adhere to the site plan on file with the division, provided the director may authorize adjustments to site plans, and that the manufactured home be skirted prior to utilities being connected.
Wallace. Is the applicant present and would like to add to this? State your name and address for the record, ma'am.
My name is Kyla Duggar. My address is P.O. Box 391, Sulphur, but my property is at the 7,000 block of Starboard Road. When I originally bought this property, I asked the realtor if there was any subdivision restrictions. I'm from Northeast Texas, so not knowing the South Louisiana area, did not know about the zoning restrictions when I actually bought the property. But my request to file for the exception is that the neighbors across the street, which you've seen in the video, in the yellow house, and also the one right next to me, have signed a letter stating that they have absolutely no issues with me having a manufactured home next to them or across from them. And also, if you can look closer and zoom in, at the 7,000, I think it's address, 7077, there's already a manufactured home there. At 6743, there's already a manufactured home there. And asking the planning and zoning ladies, they had no idea how they ever got a permit to be able to put those there. If you go about 200 yards from where there are restriction, that's because of in the green, that's different from green to the yellow area. Mine's in the green. If you go about 200 yards south, that's in the yellow, which is not an R1 restriction. Which is at the same elevation, which is on the same road. They still have starboard address. And there are approximately, I know, 5 mobile homes, like within 200 yards of where I'm wanting to put my manufactured home. So it's not like it's a highfalutin neighborhood where I'm coming in trying to put a mobile home that's going to devalue people's property. And the 2 stick homes that are on that road, which is one of them's adjacent and one of them's directly across, both have signed a letter saying that they have no issue. And not that I know of has anybody contested as soon as the public sign was put into my yard. So if I could please have the exception, I would greatly appreciate that. Like I said, I'm new to South Louisiana, so I'm getting acquainted, and hopefully I'll be here for a while since I work at one of the refineries. So.
Any questions for Ms. Duggar?
Okay, so,
There are no blue cards on this issue. Ms. Christie, roll call vote?
Ms. Felicia? Yes. Ms. Dickerson? Yes. Mr. Porsche?
No.
Mr. Williams?
Yes.
Mr. Little?
Yes.
Ms. Whining?
Yes.
Mr. Vincent?
yes.
Ms. Hyatt? Mr. Dubrock?
Yes.
8 for, 1 against.
Motion passes. Item 15, take appropriate action on RZ-0521. Oh, I'm sorry. Item 14, take appropriate action on RZ-0521-0197, a request by Stream Family Trust LLC to rezone from agricultural A1 to heavy industrial I2 to allow industrial development in the 4,000 block of East Houston River Road in Ward 4.
Mr.
Wallace?
Chair, the police juror representing this area, Mr. Randy Burley, requests that this action be deferred for 30 days.
I will entertain a motion to defer action for 30 days. Motion by Mr. Little, second by Ms. Hyatt. All those in favor, state aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? There being none, motion to defer passes. Item 15, take appropriate action on RZ-0521-0198, a request by Patriot Southwest Louisiana Plumbing, LLC, to rezone from agricultural A1 to light industrial, I1, to allow industrial development, a contractor shop and storage yard at 3630 Highway 27 North in Ward 6. I will entertain a motion for approval with conditions. Motion by Ms. Hyatt. Second by Coach Williams. Ms. Wallace.
Property is located between Sulphur and DeQuincy and encompasses 2 acres of vacant land. The applicant purchased the property earlier this year. If approved, the applicant plans to place a 16-foot by 40-foot building on the property for use as the office for a plumbing business. There will also be a storage building and privacy fencing. The staff has not received any opposition to this request. Because the property is adjacent to the proposed development or residential uses, the staff recommends that the request be denied. Should the board grant the request, the staff recommends the following conditions: that the development adhere to the site plan on file with the division, provided that the director may authorize adjustments to site plans, that the exterior lighting be oriented inward toward the development or structures to minimize intrusion onto surrounding properties, that a 6-foot wooden privacy fence must be provided along the north, south, and east property lines in accordance with Section 2650 of the Parish Code. Prior to final electrical approval, that a runoff management plan will be required unless appropriate waiver is granted by the Division of Engineering, that permitting is subject to approval of the Louisiana Department of Transportation and Development, and 6, should development permit not be obtained within 1 year of police jury approval, the property shall automatically revert to its original zoning classification as per Section 26-127B of the Parish Code.
Ms. Wallace, does the applicant have anything to add to the staff's presentation? Address for the record.
Robin Bissoni, 1010 Lakeland Drive, Lake Charles. Want to let you know that I appreciate the service of the board members, especially during the challenging times we've been through. We're all in this together and appreciate your service. Tonight I represent Patriot SWLA Plumbing LLC. You see the detailed site plan. We think it's important for you to know that the plumbing company will adhere to normal business hours. The owners of the company have met with adjacent neighbors and property owners, and there has been no opposition. And I'm available for any other questions you may have. You can see almost immediately to the south, the northeast corner at High Hope Road, and the northwest corner of High Hope Road and Highway 27 is light industrial usage, and the northeast corner of Royer Loop is commercial usage. Very, very near to the proposal.
Tony? Thank you, Ms. Bissoni. Any questions?
Question for the staff. In regards to recommendations, if approved, our screening comes into effect on this property, and if I would like to put a stipulation that a 6-foot wooden dog-eared fence be put adjacent to any homes that may be adjacent to this property, should this pass.
I
I think
think
they covered, they covered.
That-
we don't have the dog ear in there, but
You
we
have a
do
wooden-
have
you don't
the
have a wooden,
6.
you have a wooden fence?
Yes,
It is
sir.
a wooden priority.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
If you look at the imagery, it says
See right
that the 6-foot fence would be
That's where-
north, south, and east property lines, and that would
Very much.
encompass all the residential spots.
Friend of mine
Mr.
does.
Porsche?
Just want to confirm with staff that, so sometimes the colors on these screens, but Ms. Bozzoni mentioned the Highway 27, that High Hope, that corner, those three, that is light industrial zone, correct? What
That's
I'm-
correct, yes.
Okay.
Yes, on the
That was
east
done during
side,
comprehensive zone.
It was
On the-
done, pardon?
comprehensive zoning.
Okay.
But on the east side is industrial, and on the west side is the commercial.
Commercial. A couple comments, and I'm probably biased, but I don't think you can find a better neighbor than a plumber. First of all, when you need them, it's usually a dire situation. It's good to have them near you. I had a plumbing business off Abear Road, south of town, and we were light industrial in a residential area. The nature of that business is the work is done off-site. There's not a lot of fabrication going on. on site that we've ever done. So I just wanted to make those general comments. I don't think it's spot zoning. I think there's precedent here for the light industrial, and
I'll get back to that.
in general, I do think it's great that the neighbors aren't opposed. But I did want to. Hey man, I got to look out for the plumbers, right?
Ms. Wallace, you have a comment?
I just wanted to mention that Ms. Bizzoni did bring up the business hours, and that is not something that we included in our recommendation, if you guys wanted to include something about that.
Ms. Bissoni, would you come back to the,
Jake, how often did y'all work in the middle of the night?
What, pardon?
Did y'all ever work in the middle of the night?
It depends on how they're set up. So sometimes the plumbers drive the vehicles home, and if they're on call, and then they actually leave from their home. We are not set up for a service after hours, but most companies that do service, the plumber will actually drive the vehicle to their house, and that way they don't have to make the trip to the shop and then back out. So there's not a lot of at night. That's purely speculative, but Ms. Robin could probably answer that.
tell us what your normal business hours would entail?
Can I ask my ownership real quick?
Please.
So on an average,
Name and address for the record,
my
sir.
name is Joshua Baden, 630 Alabama Street in Suffolk, Louisiana. So on average, I guess your plumbing company, the guys usually come in around 6:30 in the morning. We usually start our day anywhere between 7 and 8. I would probably say Paul and I has actually worked for companies that does 24-hour service calls. That's not the way we choose to run a business. We believe in giving our guys off whenever they get done at the end of the day and go home spending time with their family. Under emergency situations, I'm not going to tell you that couldn't happen if we have a customer or client that's got an emergency call out and they need to go back and pick up parts. I mean, they're going to go in. They're not going to be making a lot of racket. It's going to be a bare minimum entryway into the business and exit. A lot of these guys, as we grow, probably will be driving their trucks home if they end up having to do a call out. So hopefully that's not the way we're wanting it to run. We don't want to do call out. We work our hours and go home at the end of the day. So I'd probably say from 7 to 5.
Put those stipulations into
Just mentioned it. It wasn't a suggestion. I just mentioned it.
I don't. How are you going to police that anyway? If someone gets, there's no way to.
And just to point out, as stated earlier, there are no blue cards on this agenda item, so. Jake?
Again, I would equate it to, trying to stipulate someone in a residential situation that, you don't need to come home at a certain time and leave at a certain time that work in grave shift. The nature of that business is the work is done in the field at a different location. You're not going to take the pipe to the shop, cut it in the middle of the night, and then go back out to the field and try to fabricate it in the field. It's just the work. So you're talking about a gentleman pulling up, parking his personal truck, entering into the shop, getting into a vehicle and leaving. So I don't see that being a noise pollution type of situation. And again, my feeling is, it's not a spot zoning issue. I understand it is that agricultural around there, but that's a few hundred feet is the light industrial precedent there. That's.
Any other questions by the board? There being none, Ms. Christie, roll call vote.
Mr. Porsche?
Yes.
Ms. Galicia?
Yes.
Mr. Williams?
Yeah.
Ms. Dickerson?
Yes.
Mr. Vincent?
Yes.
Ms. Whining?
Yes.
Mr. Little?
Yes.
Mr. Dubrock?
Yes.
Ms. Hyatt? Yes. 9 for.
Motion passes. Item 16, take appropriate action on RZ-0521-0199, a request by Robert Young to rezone from agricultural A1 to light industrial I1 to allow industrial development contractor shop and storage yard at 1880 West Lincoln Road in Ward 3. I will entertain a motion for approval with conditions. Motion by Coach Williams, second by Ms. Hyatt. Ms. Wallace.
Property is located in South Lake Charles and encompasses just over 1 acre of vacant land. If approved, the applicant will sell or lease the land for use by Brian Valier Development. The company would construct a 50-foot by 100-foot building that would include an office space and warehousing. Within the warehouse will be storage of materials for use of the business. The staff has not received opposition to this request. Because a similar use was approved on an adjacent lot and the proposed zoning is consistent with the character of the area, the staff recommends that the request be granted with the following conditions: that the development adhere to the site plan on file with the division, provided that the director may authorize adjustments to site plans, that all exterior lighting must be oriented inward toward the development to minimize intrusion onto surrounding properties, that screening must be provided in accordance with Section 2650 of the Parish Code prior to final electrical approval, that a runoff management plan will be required unless appropriate waiver is granted by the Division of Engineering, and should a development permit not be obtained within 1 year of police jury approval, the property shall automatically revert to its original zoning classification as per Section 26-127B of the Parish Code.
Does the applicant have anything to add to the staff's presentation? Is the applicant present? Okay, thank you, sir. Any questions for the staff by the board regarding this matter? Being none, all those in favor, state aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? There being none, motion passes. Item 17, take appropriate action on RZ-0521-0200, a request by Robert Everidge Sr. to rezone from agricultural A1 to light industrial I1 to allow industrial development, firewood processing and storage at 7698 Sidney Leger Road in Ward 8. I will entertain a motion for approval with conditions.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Hyatt, second by Mr. Dubrock. Ms. Wallace.
This property is in the Blue Settlement area and encompasses over 1.5 acres of land. Currently, there is a 20-foot by 30-foot shop on the property. If approved, the shop and land would be used to store equipment for carom tree service, as well as for processing firewood for sale. The staff has received opposition on this request and has included it on your tablets. Because the proposed development is not consistent with the character of the area, the staff recommends that the request be denied. Should the board grant the request, the staff recommends the following conditions: that the development adhere to the site plan on file, provided that the director may authorize adjustments to site plans, that all exterior lighting must be oriented inward toward the development to minimize intrusion onto surrounding properties, that a 6-foot wooden privacy fence must be provided in accordance with Section 2650 of the Parish Code prior to issuance of an occupational license, that a runoff management plan will be required unless appropriate waiver is granted by the Division of Engineering, that the hours of operation must be limited to Monday through Saturday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., and should a development permit not be obtained within 1 year of police jury approval, the property shall automatically revert to its original zoning classification as per Section 26-127B of the Parish Code.
Wallace. We have 3 blue cards. The first is in favor. It's of the applicant. I'm sorry, it's not the applicant. Scott Kinney.
Mr. Chairman, if we have the applicant maybe first, then the proponent speaker, if that's.
So, the applicant on there is deceased. I asked on the owner's behalf to apply, so I am the applicant. That's my card as well. So, Scott Kingery, 5559 Chuck Drive, Louisiana, Lake Charles, Louisiana. I've never appeared in a zoning hearing, or I don't have much experience with it, or someone to speak for me. So I'd like to just introduce myself to the board and the opposition. I'm a drilling engineer in oil and gas, Schlumberger. So I have rigs in West Texas, My clients are in Dallas, Austin, Fort Worth. I work remotely. I live here, born and raised here, went to Barb. As a result of the storm, Karam Tree Service, I mean, that's what gave birth to it. I haven't been an arborist all my life, or this isn't a 24/7, 365 thing. When the storm hit, I was in Houston, and we came back the day after, and between myself and my cousin, that's Karam Tree Service, that's our mother's maiden name, we had 18 houses that were either demolished or needed trees or something. So what him and I did was rented a skid steer, used the chainsaws that we had, cleared, our families, our siblings' stuff, and just almost grassroots word of mouth. There's so much demand for tree service. I got my arborist license, proper LLC, general liability, all of the insurance, everything by the book, and kept going. Now we've, as I mentioned, that's the side gig. I mean, my real job is 8 to 10 rigs in the Permian, West Texas. So that's 80% of my time easily. But since then, we've provided, affordable service to 860 parishioners, and 160 people that we've done work for now at an affordable price by someone from here. And at that rate, once FEMA quits picking up, and which they have, we've started to save just red and white oak that can be used for Paul's Rib Shack, for smoking brisket, ribs. That's all that they want, and then that's all that we plan on selling. So no pine, sappy woods, anything like that. It's just oak. And what we average is about 4 cords a month of oak. And I only have time really about 4 days a month to even, cut to firewood length and split it. So I just wanted to make it clear that this isn't my primary source of income, and the plan is to do this and do it around the clock and have, a firewood empire. It's really, there's so many trees that need to be downed, and to be able to provide a service. I mean, my equipment is a Bobcat, a 16-foot dump trailer, and a lot of it is either Sulphur or Lake Charles. So a 16-foot dump trailer driving back and forth the highway, it's just not that much wood. I mean, the job site that put on there, I mean, I tried to lay it out, but the main source and the main client, actually the only client who's offered to buy all the wood, is the owner of Paul's Rib Shack. His consumption rate is about 30 cords a year. We do about 3 cords a month. I mean, it's about 36 cords a year is what I would look to. I mean, it takes 6 to 12 months to season the wood. So it's really somewhere to put it. And if it's neatly stacked, I mean, the biggest noise, the biggest decibel level would be a chainsaw, which all of my chainsaws are steel. Steel's catalog, they say, is 104 decibels, which is loud. But, the inverse square law, basically every time you double the distance, the decibels go down by 6. So my nearest neighbor, who I've spoke to, who's not opposed to it, is about 200 feet away. And, 104 decibels, 200 feet away, that reduces down to about 63 decibels. At a chart, and kind of tells you, okay, what's a decibel level? 60 decibels is a conversation. So if I didn't have this microphone and I was speaking to the back, I would say that's 60 decibels. And that's assuming, open air, open field, but around that property and throughout is wooded area that I believe would mitigate the noise, but the noise would be 4 days a month. I mean, that's really all I have time for. I mean, the firewood is not a big money-making thing, and it's not something that is my primary focus. It's really a byproduct of what the actual service is to remove trees, which is only, red and white oak. So it's not, I just don't want to give the impression that there's, mountains of trees and, huge burn piles or anything like that. I mean, I've spoke to the staff. There'd be no burning on the property, no, no exhaust, no fumes from that. So I'm not sure how much time I have, but I believe that's all that I had to say. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Since you're dealing only with hardwood, do y'all supply wood for fireplace?
Yes. Red and white oak, that you can burn that inside, outside. You can use it as a smokehouse, to cook with it. It's the sap and the softer woods that would make the soot and something that you wouldn't want to burn in your house.
How many employees do you have?
2.
On the, and I didn't do a Google search, but you said your chainsaw's 104. It states here it's 115 decibels.
So Google chainsaw says 115.
Yeah, that would seem to me about accurate.
Steele's
115.
catalog, I mean, they state that it's 104 decibels, so.
I guess my question, I mean, I don't have a problem with you doing it, but what happens if you want to sell it down the road or someone else takes it and then it could be this massive operation?
So as mentioned, the selling of it, I have one client, and that's Paul with Paul's Rib Shack. And so that would be from there delivered to the actual restaurant. So there's no transactions on site. There's not multiple clients. There's not 500 people buying firewood and on the property. There would be no sales on the property, or it's just to store it. I mean, the oak just takes so much time to season to, less than 20% moisture level before it's really good to burn or to smoke or anything like that. And that takes 6 months to 12 months, depending on the weather.
You can correct me if I'm wrong, Ms. Galicia. To her point, I believe she was leading to not your intentions, but what we have to look at is a spot zoning situation that gives light industrial zoning to a business that could potentially be bought out by a much bigger company who may have 10 chainsaws going at the same time. So I appreciated your statistics on the decibel levels and the distance, and you're absolutely correct. Every time you double the distance, you have, but there also applies, and you double the source, you're gaining 3 dB every time you double. So, I mean, you could add 4 chainsaws going would put you around 121 decibels if they're all going together, which, for the board, I guess something relative to that, when you're at a rock concert, like a high energy rock concert, 110 decibels at the mixed position is what you're typically going to be running in a rock concert. So to use that relation, you're 5 dB hotter if you're sitting there next to a chainsaw. So I think the concern is not your intentions and not what you're going to do with business, but once we approve this for this type of use, things happen. You may be approached, which is not your intention now, I totally believe, but 2 years from now by a much bigger company, and they're looking, hey, this is a perfect site for us to, quadruple the size of your business, of what you're doing, and run 8 to 10 hours a day with the houses that I see around here. I just see it could be a spot zoning situation that could hurt the neighbors.
So just a comment on that. My initial, approach to the parish was that it would be just a variance. I would prefer it not to be light industrial, because I don't perceive, my opinion, it's not industrial by the small frequency of how much I'm out there and the size of the operation. So I think to avoid that scenario is to remain Ag 1, and then if there was ever, someone to buy it and going along your wording there, then they would have to come in front of the board, and then they'd have to show their job site that, hey, that we're going to have 4 chainsaws running and we're going to do it 5 days a week, and then a vote for that magnitude, because I don't think that's apples to apples with what I'm doing, so.
Right. That's a great point. Unfortunately, tonight, you're requesting to rezone now to the light industrial, which gives, for your business, which would give you a question for the staff. Could he operate in this limited capacity under the A1, or is that I'm guessing that's a no, and that's why we're here?
That's right.
We have done some exceptions for tree services.
Okay.
But I think what the deciding factor is the fact that a true tree service does everything off-site. Kind of like the plumbing that you were talking about.
That's correct, yes.
Where in this particular case, there will be work done on-site.
Okay. So if he was only cutting the trees, getting them into smaller sizes off-site and then storing them at this location, there could be an exception in A1 that would allow for that type of scope.
We've almost done it like a home occupation.
Okay.
So in other words, if you lived on the property and you were a tree guy and you wanted to go off-site and do business, but have a small office in your home, and then you operate from there off-site.
Right.
Then that could be a possibility. But I think that's the difference here. It's not like that.
It's being done, yeah.
It goes beyond that.
Yes,
When
sir.
you go beyond that, then we've got to look at it as establishing a particular use.
Yeah.
And then we got to go through the ordinance and see how that fits.
Can you hear?
Yeah.
Okay. I was going to repeat, but go ahead.
I believe I spoke to Miss Butler, Amanda Butler, and I asked that question. I said, well, if I was to build a shop house out there, would that change? Because I don't want it to be light industrial for that reason.
Right.
She said, no, that wouldn't change anything. So that might just be my lack of education in this process, but I mean, it's set up for utilities, and I don't have plans to build. I mean, I can't afford to build something currently, so I don't want to commit to that and promise that just to get something approved. I mean, I want to be honest with what my intentions are, but.
It's a tough one for me. You've represented yourself very well spoken, and I believe what your intentions are probably wouldn't interfere with the neighbors, but it's a big step that is being asked by the board and then the police jury, to approve because of the nature of the business and that much cutting and noise pollution possibly on site in the future. So that's all. I'm just.
That's understood. That's why we're here.
Any other questions for Mr. King? We have two blue cards in opposition. Sheila Bailey.
Mr. Chairman, as Ms. Bailey makes her way up here, just a reminder, 3 minutes.
I'm the other blue card. Can I go first?
Cody Hawks.
And Mr. Chairman, as Mr. Hawks makes his way up here, just a reminder of 3 minutes.
3 minutes, okay. 3 minutes, Mr. Hawks. Give your name and address for the record.
My name's Cody Hawks. I'm at 2134. Are y'all ready for this? North Jeff Davis Ward Line Road. I think we have the longest address in the parish. Thank you, each and every one of you, for letting us have this opportunity to come and voice our opinions. I represent probably 6 families here that are here tonight in opposition to this. My master bedroom is actually 75 feet from the shop that's on the property. So I'm very close to it. The 200-foot person that's in next to it is deceased now. That home is fixing to be up for sale. It's not going to sell with a light industrial business next door to it. I've spoke directly with my neighbor across the street who's not here. They have a 3-year-old son. We work shift work in and out of the plants on all different schedules. We're allowed to be on nights. We're allowed to be on days, whatever it may be. We're on the very last road of the parish. We're a quiet, peaceful, residential neighborhood. That's our main reason for being here tonight, is we want to keep it that way. I respect Mr. Kingery's and appreciate his explanation. But plans change, and once it's granted, opens the door for anything and anyone to come in with any type of a business. I'm not real sure. I spoke with Mr. Stelly at great length last week. I wished he'd have been here, but I got most of my information in direct verbiage from him. And his verbiage to me was that there was going to, what do you do with the excess bark? What do you do with the excess wood that you don't season and sell, and it's got to be burned? And so his reply to me was, well, I'm sure he'll put some type of an incinerator in and burn it. Regardless of whatever the means may be, open fire or incinerator, however it may be, it's got to be disposed of. We don't want that in our neighborhood. Stacked wood brings rodents, termites. Our homes are right there close, back to back. We don't want that element in our neighborhood. I think you guys were supposed to have received an email from Mr. Pettigrew from down the road. Sure, he voiced his opinion on the matter.
1 minute. 1 minute.
My mother is the other blue card, and she lives next door to us. These other gentlemen that are here are all within 2 blocks. We're all right there together. So we're all here tonight to see that this doesn't go through. Thank each and every one of you for your time.
Bailey? Name and address for the record.
Sheila Bailey, 2148 North Jeff Davis, Ward Line Road. I've been in this neighborhood for quite a while, and it's a quiet neighborhood. Everything that my son said, I ditto. We don't need any industrial. We don't know what this would turn out to be, and you know, it could really backfire on the community. We've got a lot of homes that's right across the way in Jeff Davis Parish that are new homes that are built since Rita, and they're not all here, but I'm sure that they don't want that as well. I work for the police jury with the Human Service Department, and I try to help people. And I appreciate if you would help us in our neighborhood. Thank you.
Questions for Ms. Bailey? Being none. Mr. Kingery, would you like to address their concerns?
So the incinerator is not, that's not a thing. I spoke to, I believe, Jennifer and Amanda about that, and that's removed. There's no burn pile. There's nothing there. The rule is that in Ag 1, you can burn fallen trees that are on the property. You can burn that, but if you're bringing them to the property, you can't burn them. I plan on all the burning to happen at Paul's Rib Shack. As far as the bark or debris that comes from that, there's low parts of the property that could be used to build up the property, and then, you know, if there is brush or small things like that, I mean, chip it, compost it, mulch. There would be nothing that would be burned. Is basically, which seems like one of the major concerns is that won't be the case.
I have a question for you. What was the determining factor of you choosing this particular place? Is it that you've already owned this property, or how did that come about for you to put this on, want to put this on that property?
So the actual son of the owner, he just moved his mom closer to Lake Charles, so the property was for sale. That's the only reason I knew about it. Going out there, there's a shop on the property, and it's built up for utilities. I mean, it's a sole proprietor. The business is, I'm the sole owner. Me as an individual, and the business is the same thing. the property is set up for utilities. And as mentioned, I like that I have the option, if I was to buy it, to live out there. If I didn't live out there forever, to have, sort of like a shop house out there. But as mentioned, I don't want to commit to that because I don't have the means to build that right now. And there's no plans for me to. But as far as a piece of land, I'd rather something that's set up for residential, that's set up that something happens with the other job or something happens to our home here, we have a place to go. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
I have a question. So how far is your shop from Mr. Hawks' house?
I'm not sure exactly where it is. He said that his bedroom was 75 feet.
75 feet, so is that correct?
I'm not sure. I haven't stepped on his property before. I'm not sure where it is. I know that to the west of the property is another family member of the owner that is recently deceased. I mean, within the last quarter. And then the property, I'm guessing, is their property, is a even bigger shop right there, which I thought was directly behind that shop. But I'm not familiar with this property is my answer.
This is my last question for you. So if this request is denied by the board, what do you intend to do as a follow-up? Are you going to look for another location for the business? So what are your plans if that happens?
Yep, I just continue to search for something, I suppose.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Being none, Ms. Christie, roll
Bought
call
the
vote.
property yet? Oh, sorry, Carl had a question.
Have you bought the property yet?
The property's under contract, and the pending is the zoning of it.
Oh, okay.
Christie, roll call vote.
No.
Mr. Vincent?
No.
Ms. Galicia?
No.
No.
Ms. Dickerson? No.
No.
Mr. Dubrock?
No.
Ms. Hyatt?
No.
9 against.
Motion fails. Item 18, the next item on the agenda is to advise that the police jury took the following action on May 27, 2021, with reference to the recommendation of Planning and Zoning Board from May 25th, 2021 meeting. Stream Family Limited, Delta Downs Drive, Planning and Zoning recommended approval. Police jury approved. Item 19, the next item on the agenda is to advise that the next regularly scheduled Planning and Zoning meeting will be held on Tuesday, July 20th, 2021, in the Police Jury Meeting Room. I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion by Ms. Galicia, second by Ms. Dickerson. We are adjourned.